And Ohio Governor John Kasich joins us from the campaign trail in Rhode Island. Governor, there's been this horrible execution-style shooting of 8 members of a family in Ohio. Are there any new details on that you can tell us?
Well, listen, the Attorney General is on top of this, and of course our Highway Patrol now is involved, and local law enforcement. And you know, in terms of what I want to reveal on the air, I mean, this investigation goes on into what is, you know, just a breathtakingly horrible set of murders. And I think all I can say is that all of Ohio, and I think a lot of the country, is just horrified by what we've seen. And I'm confident at the end of the day we will find the perpetrators and justice will be delivered to them.
Do you have a sense there's a public safety issue here, or that this might have been just a targeting of one family? Well,
John, look, all indications are it appears as though it was one family being targeted. But any speculation beyond that coming from me, I just think would be inappropriate. We'll let the information come out as it's available, and I think, look, I've learned over time that when you have a circumstance like this, let the process take place. Obviously, if they felt there was a danger to the public, that the public would be notified, but let's let the people there on the ground handle this.
Governor, the Club for Growth is running an ad in which they say that because you have so few delegates, that a vote for you is really a vote for Donald Trump because the math doesn't add up. What's your response to that ad?
Well, first of all, they're working aggressively against me because they're for somebody else. Secondly, a vote for Cruz or Trump, frankly, is a vote for Hillary Clinton. I have some new numbers here that just came out of New Hampshire. And let me tell you, Hillary is at 50, Trump is at 31. Hillary's at 48, Cruz is at 34, and in the third matchup, Hillary's at 36 and John Kasich's at 50. And what's really amazing is they surveyed the voters in New Hampshire who actually voted in the Republican primary, which Trump won, where I finished second. And today, according to this poll, I lead Donald Trump 26-22. Look, I'm the only one who can defeat Hillary Clinton consistently in 15 national polls, and even the Electoral College shows the same thing. So, look, at the end of it all, I think when we're at the convention, the delegates are going to want to know who can beat Hillary, because if we don't beat Hillary, we lose the Supreme Court, the United States Senate, state and local races. That's where we're heading, and these guys don't have enough time to turn around super high negatives. So I can't tell you about these Republican organizations in Washington, but you know, they're the same old, and that's frankly why this country has not been doing well.
You're making the electability argument. In 1964, Pennsylvania governor, you're participating in a Pennsylvania primary, made the same argument against Barry Goldwater. Governor Scranton said, I'm more electable. And the delegates just didn't listen. Why are they going to listen now?
Because if they look at history, Goldwater got smoked. We lost everything. I mean, that's why, because I think delegates are pretty smart when it comes to picking somebody who can actually win in the fall. And look, we're picking up delegates. You know, the other thing is, John, you know, I won Manhattan Island. You know what Frankie said, if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere. And my message is being heard. I'm emerging. We're getting big crowds here in Rhode Island, a huge turnout today. We just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and it'll work out. And you know, the message of growth, of opportunity, of bringing people together, this is what needs to be heard, not this message of gloom and doom. And you know, the Washington Post said the reason Kasich doesn't do so well is because he's not an apocalyptic candidate. Yeah, I don't think the apocalypse is coming next week. I think we can straighten this country out, and I'm going to keep talking about it.
In the conversations you've had in Pittsburgh, you spoke to some delegates. You made this pitch. Did you come away with some converts?
Well, John, you know I'm not going to tell you whether we're getting people or not. We think we're having good conversations with delegates. I met in Florida with some delegates who are absolutely committed to me and some that are very interested, and we had a reception for delegates. We're all delegate hunting, and with Charlie Black, Stu Spencer, John Weaver, Beth Hansen, we got a great team that knows how to do this, and we'll see what the delegates have to say. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to want to win, and they're going to want to be behind somebody who can actually improve the country.
You're competing in that delegate conversation with Donald Trump, and his campaign manager, Paul Manafort, said this week to some Republicans, quote, "He gets it. The party he's been playing is evolving. The negatives are going to come down. The image is going to change." What's your reaction to that?
Well, I don't want to have anybody have negatives, but I can tell you, John, after my first year as governor, I was one of the most unpopular governors, maybe the most unpopular governor in the country. It takes a long time to change negatives. People have to see that you're actually being fruitful in your work. What happened with me is when people started getting work and we started balancing budgets and reaching out to people, it changed. But you can't turn negatives around overnight. It's not possible to do, because when you create that negative impression in people, you just can't talk your way out of it, unfortunately, for those that have high negatives.
You think Donald Trump has been playing a part so far?
I don't know what that means, playing a part. I saw that today. I didn't bother to click on it because there were too many other things I wanted to look at, including some of the tributes to Prince.
Were you a Prince fan?
There were others that I followed more closely, but who didn't love Party Like It's 1999? And my wife the other day told me, upon learning of his death, she said, "Tomorrow I'll be wearing all purple." So he truly transformed music. He wrote incredible music for so many other artists. A remarkable guy. And what's really amazing, John? I think you're a guy that follows the pop culture. His death has had an enormous impact here with fans all across the world. It's pretty remarkable.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. First of all, he was at the same time he was sort of pop. He was also jazzy. He had a style that was all his own, and people just flocked to him. I think it was the nature of his music, which was unique. I think it was his style, not just his clothes. I think it was the way he carried himself. And, it's a tremendous loss. And when you think about it, you have Merle Haggard, a great one in the country field. And, of course, we had David Bowie. I was a huge fan of Bowie, and now Prince. So we've lost some great ones here this year.
Let me ask you about the convention coming up, the Republican convention. There are reports that you've been vetting running mates and that you might announce one as early as June. What can you tell us about that?
Well, we have some old hands now who are beginning to do that. These things come quickly, and you don't want to have yourself in a position of where you got to pick somebody out of a hat. So I have some skilled hands who are beginning now to take a look and figure out who would really fit. And it's just starting, so there isn't a lot to report. But this will probably be the last thing I have to say about it, because we'll let those people become the people that speak.
I could imagine, though, John Kasich, in making his argument to the delegates, might say, hey, here's the ticket. Not just John Kasich, here's what the ticket would look like, and that might be a more attractive...
I think that's interesting.
Might you do that?
Yeah, it might be. It might be. Yeah, well, it's possible. The thing is, John, by the way, I'm loving this interview because you're letting me talk, and who would have ever thought we would talk about Prince? You're a heck of a guy. Look, I don't run the campaign. I'm just a candidate, okay? Well, I know what's going on. I had to approve that we were going to start vetting. These are things you talk about as a group. I'll have my strong opinions of it at some point, but we're at the preliminary stage, and I think it's always possible. Reagan tried to do that in 1976. He didn't win,
didn't
but
work
he
out
was
so well
offering
for
a vice president.
Yeah.
Well, did work out later, and, he influenced the country, and there's something to be said for that.
Let me ask you about the convention. Security measures. There's talk about if it might get rough. What are you doing in terms of security in case there's anything associated with the convention? Are you adding more security?
Well, John, I don't think I should be kind of getting into the security discussion, but we try to be prepared for all events as best as humanly possible. The Secret Service will be the lead entity on this. Our Highway Patrol is intimately involved. Of course, Cleveland Police. There'll be other There'll be other entities of law enforcement from around the country that will help. And we prepare for, what we think could happen, and we've been preparing for a number of things over the years since I've been governor. We have good security people. I talk to them about it. At the end of the day, they'll be ready, but I don't think I need to talk about security on television.
Let me ask you a policy question. Governor Terry McAuliffe in Virginia will allow 200,000 ex-cons to register to vote in the upcoming presidential elections. That's one of the biggest actions a governor's ever taken. What's your thinking about that?
Well, look, we have one of the lowest, we have half the national average on recidivism. We give our folks an opportunity to work their way out of the system. If they want to develop a good life and they want to have skills, they can get out. I've not really considered this issue. I'd have to look at the pros and cons, but whenever people want to turn their lives around, I'm one that believes in it. Michael Vick said you only have one chance to make a good second impression. I've always liked that, but this would require a lot more thinking before I could give you a definitive answer.
All right, and finally, Governor, I wanted to ask you, Donald Trump had some difficulty with your name and pronouncing it. I want to play you a clip and get your reaction to that.
Millions of votes more than Kasich. And I don't know how you pronounce his name, Kasich. It's I-C-H. Every time I see it, I say Kasich, but it's pronounced Kasich. So I'm doing a very good job staying on. But, it's really, can we ask him to change the spelling of his name? Are we allowed to do that? So ridiculous.
Got any advice for Donald Trump there on the pronunciation of your name, Governor?
No, I always find these things amusing. When they're talking about you, John, that's a good thing. They used to say if they spell your name right, that's good. No, it's kind of chuckle. It makes me laugh. So God bless them, and God bless you and our listeners.
Thank you, Governor. We'll end it right there.
All right, thank you.